Early on the morning of April 4th, 2021, Dante was officially elected into power as mayor of Hypixel Skyblock. What started out as a feeble attempt by the admins to correct the in-game economy has quickly turned into the greatest source of unrest throughout the player base to date. However, in order to understand what has happened to the current state of Skyblock, we have to take a deeper look into the game itself. Hypixel Skyblock is nothing like traditional Skyblock. The massive number of unique items in this game fuels an economy, which operates on capitalistic principles. Now, by saying this, I'm not trying to criticize capitalism, merely point out that some of the issues in real-world capitalist economies can be seen here as well. The relevant issues we can see today in the Skyblock economy are fairly straightforward, as well as being related to one another. There is an ever-growing divide between the haves and have-nots of this game. And the wealth gap makes it increasingly hard for new players to get established profiles, which is a problem that's only made worse by the rampant inflation in the economy. Inflation is the loss of purchasing power of money. Simply put, it's the fact that over time, money becomes worth less and less. When you have the same demand for items as before, but on average people have more money to spend, those items are going to cost more than they did before. For example, a bottle of Coke in 1950 was just 6 cents. Today it's $2. Now in Skyblock, replace Coke with the best weapon in the game. At one point, this was the Midas sword. At the time, the 50 million coin price tag was seen as an insane amount of money. However, the best weapon at the present moment is the Hyperion, costing over 500 million coins. Both of these weapons held the same title and role in the game at their respective times, that being the best melee weapon in the game. However, the Hyperion costs 10 times as much as the Midas sword. You can see how this has become a problem. Inflation typically occurs when more money is put into an economy than is taken out. This can clearly be seen with Skyblock. Anytime an item is generated, be it from minions, mob drops, mining, farming, fishing, really anything like that, coins are indirectly injected into the economy, as all of these things have monetary value. And in a game where there are infinitely regenerating resources, you can see how this leads to inflation. However, there are mechanics in Skyblock that take coins out of the economy. Taxes on both the bazaar and auction house, the dark auction itself, and dungeon chest fees being notable examples of this. Simply put, whenever an item is generated, money is injected, and whenever you buy something from an NPC, money is removed. This is where Dante comes into the picture. He's designed to resemble the dictators of the early to mid 20th century, with his implementation of taxes stifling free speech and travel, as well as his support of the villager master race. However, the admins have designed Dante for one specific purpose: removing money from the economy. While at surface value, it may seem like this is actually a viable solution, only one of these perks actually does that well. With the exception of buying the talisman, only the bazaar and auction house tax have the potential to even slightly decrease the rate of inflation, with the other perks just hurting lower game players. The two perks involving fees are not just completely insignificant to late game players, where most of the money is held up, but they are directly harmful to early game players. The most obvious of these perks is the 2 coin tax to travel to different islands and the 5 coin per minute chatting tax. If a typical late game player, with a net worth of 1 billion coins for simplicity's sake, were to lobby hop without stopping until they were completely broke, they would have to do so for 15 real-life years, 24/7, never taking a break to sleep or eat. This is not to mention that late game players generally don't have as much of a need to lobby hop, as it's typically earlier game players lobby hopping to get private lobbies or lobbies without late game players in them. The chat tax perk is also directly harmful to early game players. For whatever reason, early game players seem to ask all of their questions on how to progress through the game through the in-game chat, rather than a simple Google search. Now they are taxed for doing this at a rate that is, yet again, infinitely more impactful to an early game player than a late game player. While this does make the general experience of Skyblock less annoying, it only serves to hinder the newer waves of players joining this game. So what does this mean for the future of Skyblock? First of all, what the admins are doing with Dante is too little, too late for any sort of meaningful economic restoration. At this point, when the economic state is already out of control, it's not enough to merely try and slow the effects of inflation. While slowing the rate of inflation is in and of itself a good idea, the ways in which the admins are attempting to do this are ineffective at best, and laughable in most cases. Moreover, the Dante update has been the source for the most devastating coin dupe in the history of skyblock, introducing trillions of new coins into the economy. This dupe would have been incredibly easy to catch while testing the update, as all it would have taken was selling something to the bazaar, a central feature of Dante's policy. As of right now, even during Dante, inflation is still growing, as is the gap between early and endgame players. Coins are becoming worth less and less every day, with the most effective source of income limitation during Dante being that backpacks are disabled, locking many people's essential items behind an invisible wall. Without a way to reliably take more coins out of the economy, these problems we are seeing right now will only continue to spiral out of control.